I've got a doozy for you today. So, look, we've seen a lot of movies recently which have, pushed an agenda rather than the story itself. And they've not done too well. More recently, I mean, look, we got the likes of Terminator Dark Fate, right? A film absolutely rife with pushing an agenda, so much so that they destroy old characters and replace them with identical ones, but gender swap them and race swap them. Total nonsense. So because we've been getting all of these movies that have been failing, Terminator Dark Fate is set to lose like 120 odd million, close to like 200 odd million. It's insanity. You'd think the studios would learn from this. No. Charlie's Angels is feminist virtue signaling, according to critics. Now, this isn't even me. This is just taking a look at the current kind of reviews and reports that are coming in. This is an article which I'm not going to get into too much, but they've kind of compiled some bits and pieces, and then I've actually got about 4 or 5 actual reviews out from mainstream outlets. So I think this will be interesting. A bit of a journey into how these things completely fail. So first things first, look, we got the Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter. This is at 66%, which is surprising. And again, it's one of those ones which is really, really telling, because if you look at what the reviews are saying, most people are only praising it because of the agenda stuff which they're pushing, which I always find this to be a very strange way to review a movie. And I said this all about the Rambo stuff, because people gave that a bad review because they didn't agree with some of the way they were representing Mexicans. They weren't representing all Mexicans in that way anyway, idiot. They were simply representing a certain subsection of Mexican populace. So I do think it's a fascinating way that this is how we review things now, and how this is allowed. And I know a lot of people will say, well, that's funny because you review things based on that as well. Well, I don't, not really. I tend to review things if the agenda, and I will point it out if it's at the expense of the narrative. If the agenda's there, but it's in with the narrative and it flows nicely together, I don't really care too much. And that's what this is doing. But a lot of these people point out the agenda as a positive despite its shortcomings, if that makes sense. So the things which they point out as negative are what I would consider to be key, kind of critical, substance of the movie. Yet they praise it positively based on the agenda, which I think is a strange approach to take. So, very, very surprising. Now, we'll scroll down. So, the interesting stuff is, look, we've got Michael Joshua Rowan of Slant magazine gives the film a 1.5 out of 4. And he writes, all the feminist virtue signaling in the world cannot conceal the film's creative conservatism. Ashley Menzel at We Live Entertainment. I know a lot of people will say, well, who are these outlets? We'll get to the more mainstream ones in a minute. But this is just a bit of background. They say gives the film a fresh score. She wrote that Elizabeth Banks has created a non-stop kick-ass film that celebrates the strength of women without beating the audience over the head with it. So positive, again, is positive / negative. Slash Film said that it's a 6 out of 10, and that Stewart is the scene-stealing star of Charlie's Angels, swaggering through the movie like a pure force of chaotic, extremely sapphic energy. Yeah, interesting. Again, if we're looking at who's kind of reviewing this and the genders that they have, we've got a few people here that are women that are reviewing it absolutely highly. One man reviewed it negatively, so you can kind of see the trend there. Kate Sanchez at But Why Though A Geek Community gives the film a 5 out of 10, and she wrote, Charlie's Angels is a film that feels detached from itself, unsure what it wants to be, and the film's cheekiness is enough to get its wings. So that's kind of it, really. It's not high praise by any stretch. J. Don Burnham / report said they gave the film a B+, and he wrote, again, interesting, right? In the age of remakes meets #time's up, so that's the agenda seeping through. What better than a reloaded Charlie's Angels? Yeah, the movie that was rebooted recently. Elizabeth Banks and Kristen Stewart bring oodles of talent to otherwise predictable but entertaining new film. And that's a B+, a predictable but entertaining movie with essentially only 2 standouts. So, B+? Your bar's quite low, mate. Blake Goebel, or Gobble, that's funny, gives the film a B, and he wrote, Charlie's Angels feels like a course correction on the whole concept, written, directed by, for, and about women. So again, the agenda seeping through. I just think it's a really weird way to review movies. You know? Very, very strange. Joshua Rothkopf of Time Out gives the film a 2 out of 5, and he wrote, for all of its Me Too heavy lifting, though, the film still doesn't work, mainly for the same reasons as before. Constructed as symbols, not human beings. These characters have too much spy stuff to do, and yet not quite enough. So again, lacking all substance, but being carried by the Me Too stuff, essentially. And that's what I mean. Like, a lot of people will say, yeah, but these have been mixed, and, you know, some of them are quite positive. But they are, but you do have to read between the lines. A lot of this is simply saying, we love the agenda. That's literally what it's saying. Scott Mendelsohn at Forbes gives the film a 6 out of 10, and he wrote that Kristen Stewart, Ella Balinski, and Naomi Scott are terrific together. The film isn't afraid to be a little cynical, and it works, and it mostly works as a pulpy female-directed action movie that happens to star 3 women. But again, why is that? I don't. How is that relevant? And it mostly works as a pulpy female-directed action movie that has 3 women in it. What elements? What makes up a female-directed action movie? How does that make it work? Do you see what I mean? What a strange thing to be reviewing. The Hollywood Reporter gave the film a fresh score, and she wrote, Banks brings Charlie's Angels into the modern age with flair, all while unapologetically raising a feminist flag, championing female friendships and subtly making a point about the urgency of the ongoing climate crisis. So not only do we have feminism, but we've also got climate change in there as well. Very, very on the nose, isn't it? Metacritic, so look, 54 with 16 critics, 8 positive, 7 mixed, and 1 negative. So I wouldn't say that's particularly great by any stretch, but it's about on par with the likes of Rotten Tomatoes. Now, IGN, Rosie Knight's IGN gave the film an 81. She wrote, an entertaining plot, impressive script, fantastic cast, and awesomely shot action make Charlie's Angels one of the most unexpectedly fun films of the year. IndieWire, 75. He wrote, nobody really asked for another Charlie's Angels reboot, but this one will leave you eager for more. It seems these women might still have the element of surprise on their side after all. So it's kind of, look, it's very mixed, but a lot of the stuff, this is how I'm reading it anyway, are just purely enjoying the agenda stuff. I mean, look, Variety, the movie is relentless, it's pulpy and exciting, it's unabashedly derivative. The same people would normally slam stuff for being derivative. And at an hour and 58 minutes is a little too much of a rousing of the moment feministic but still rather standard issue thing. See what I mean, right? How strange. This news, Charlie's Angels, gets very crushy between silly excess and striving ambition, but even the sugar is flammable. The rap, these women wear what they want, love who they want, find fulfillment in their power, and support each other unconditionally. They're not undermined by a script that highlights their flaws or insecurities, or a camera that reflexively leers at them. They get to just be with all the freedoms and potential of any other fictional heroes. So look at this. Let's analyse that. They're not undermined by a script that highlights their flaws or insecurities. Part of believable characters is the way you relate to them. And I've been going back to this character a lot recently. Samara Weaving's character in Ready or Not. She was fantastic. It was a fully formed, fleshed out character with insecurities, with flaws, with problems that overcame them in an arc to be a absolute badass at the end. And that's what makes her so likable. Why is this being lost on filmmakers nowadays? So look, it's very much a feminist movie. I don't think anyone thought that it wouldn't be. And again, like I say, just straight up comments from the top. You know, we've got review, empty but endearingly fun female empowerment. Time Out. Again, for all of its Me Too heavy lifting, the film still doesn't work, mainly for the same reasons as before. it's just, it's not good, is it? It doesn't sound particularly good. You know, the age of Me Too, of Time's Up, has also coincided with the time of nostalgic remakes of studios dusting off old products from their libraries, from Jurassic Park to Halloween. Those things are not stuff that you should be talking about. Either way, it was only natural that a story that had always stood for female empowerment and kick-assery would get the reboot treatment. Very strange. So it looks like it's going to be a flop. I can't see this doing particularly well, but maybe I'm wrong. This will be an interesting one to see, to be honest, because this marks Kristen Stewart's first few movies after all this, well, after not being in a lot of movies for a long time, and now being in a few that's coming out. This is one of the first anyway, because she's also going to be in Underwater, I think it is, which looks great actually, and she doesn't look terrible in it, so I will be intrigued to see how this does. But like I said, this is more just an interesting topical video based around the fact that reviewers seem to just be reviewing agendas now, and political beliefs within the film. Very strange, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do let me know down below in the comments. If you're new here, hit subscribe, stay up to date on the world of pop culture and movie news by hitting the bell notification icon. Also, Space Jasper shirts are now live on my Teespring. They are limited. It's not just shirts, it's hoodies, it's bags, it's phone cases, it's pillows, it's literally everything. There's even mugs. So support me, support the channel, support what you enjoy by checking out that link down below. Thank you so much for watching. I've missed the age. Take care.